Hey guys, it's been a little while, but I'm back here working on this 13 XC70 T6. And the concern with this car was that there was smoke coming from underneath the hood and the car would not start. And what the customer found was that one of his ignition coils was pretty much exploded and melted, and the car was not starting. So he was not close to where I do the work. And he's a pretty handy guy, so I walked him through what to do. He replaced one of the coils, and he changed the fuse that is responsible for giving power to the ignition coils. And I'm actually not sure on the schematic if this goes to the ECM or this is just the driver for the coils. But on these cars with the short 6 engine, it's a somewhat common issue. If you have a no start, it's cranking and it won't start, or sometimes it even won't crank, and you'll have a message in your driver display that says vehicle not in gear. Or you may just have a really bad misfire, which feels like shaking when you're driving the car. These coils do have a known issue that I'm going to go over. So I'm going to add the video that the customer sent me to show you what his coil looked like.
So that black shit, I'm thinking, is this melted material. Yeah, pretty fucking fucked.
But essentially what happens is, what I believe, my theory, is that we're going to verify it. When the plugs get too worn on these cars, the coil is working too hard. It's trying to push current through that plug. And the harder it works, the hotter it gets. The hotter it gets, the more energy it requires to create that current. It's sort of like a positive feedback loop, and it escalates to the point where the coil completely overheats and it actually comes apart. And you would think, well, if there's so much current going to it, shouldn't the fuse be what breaks that circuit before it gets to the point where it catches on fire or is smoking? The honest answer is, I don't know. In theory, yes, but maybe it's actually not pulling so much current, it pops the fuse. Maybe this is just sort of a design flaw with these coils. I don't know. I just know that this is a known issue. I've seen it before. Actually, there is one car that did catch fire. So it's pretty important on these cars, if you are planning on owning it for long term, or you buy it with higher mileage, I would recommend taking out all these coils like we're about to do and inspect them for overheating. And also smell them, because there's a very particular smell. You can't miss it. If you just hold the coil anywhere near your nose, you'll smell it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take all these coils out. We're going to look at the plugs, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into this issue. Coils and plugs are out. If you saw me hesitate on cylinder 1, that's because we had some sticky black goop in there. And that goop is what's left over of the old coil when those coils overheat. And whatever's inside them kind of leaks out, or the plastic they're made of just melts apart. All the other coils you can see are not overheated. What will happen is they'll start to separate in this area, and some brown kind of goo will start to come out, or at this area here at the top. And they're not, there's just a little bit of oil, which is because we had a leaking PCV gasket about 15,000 miles ago. But check out the plugs. Now, I am not an expert in reading plugs, but I can tell you those don't look right. What I usually want to see is that tan or brown electrode, or that ground strap, and then usually what I want to see around the electrode, if we're going to call it that ring around the electrode, that little piece being the electrode. Let me see if I can find something to point with. Well, this is kind of teaching me I need to learn my terminology a little bit better, but I believe this right here is the electrode, this small piece in the center, and this right here is what I'm talking about. Normally I would expect this ring around the electrode to be more of a brown or a black. In this case, it's very light, and it's almost like it has this, it's almost like well, that one actually is a little closer to what we want. It's more uniform texture. It's a little bit light, but something like this one, that's number 6. It almost has kind of like deposits on it. Not sure what's happening there. I don't think it's head gasket or anything like that, but it's probably just deferred maintenance. These are Volvo plugs. This car has 93,000 miles on it. It's a 2013, which means it's about 13 years old, almost 100,000 miles, and I don't think it's ever had the plugs replaced. So that may be my original theory, that the plug gap is simply excessive. And look at that one. We're going to measure them all, but look at number one in particular. That one does look larger than the rest to me. And like I was saying, I think that's that positive feedback loop. The hotter it gets, the harder it has to work, the faster it wears out. So what I'm going to do now is I have my new plugs. I'm going to get number one, and we're going to put it, and we're going to test it out. I'm going to show you how. So this is a spark plug testing device I recently got just to try out in situations like this. So here we have 2 through 6. There's number one in there, and here's a brand new Denso Iridium plug. So if we turn the tester on, what we're looking for is to see that spark. And that's actually like the lowest setting, and actually it's pretty much even on both plugs. And let's turn it up. Turn it all the way up. So actually this test isn't showing us much. But I have a feeling the next test, which is a lot simpler, I'm just going to measure the gap. I have a feeling we're going to find all these old plugs are pretty gapped out. Let's do it. Okay, so check it out. Here's our new plug. Here's our feeler gauges. We stacked up our 20 and our 17. Well, 20 thousandths, 17 thousandths for a combined total of 37 thousandths. And we can just slip that in the gap of the new plug. I'm not actually sure what the gap is supposed to be, but I'm sure it's supposed to be close to that. We'll double check, but just want a point of reference without overthinking it. So let's compare that to our old plug. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm literally moving the feeler gauge up and down. Let's get a better shot of that. Let's get really close. You see that? That thing probably has an extra 20 thousandths of gap in it. Let's find out exactly how much. Okay, here it is with 50 thousandths. And we are able to squeak it in. It just has a little bit of drag. It's probably, there we go. It's probably actually a little bigger, but because we're stacking our feeler gauges, it makes it a little tougher. But yeah, that's a 28 and a 22, so 50 thousandths. So it's probably like 15 thousandths bigger than it should be. I believe that is what takes out the coils. Would have to do a little bit of research to substantiate this, but that's just always been what I've thought. I've never actually taken the time to verify it. That's what we just did. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that, see if it's plausible, but I'm pretty sure that's what causes the issue. So I measured these all. I'll spare you guys the 5 minutes it took me, but they're all 0.037. Pardon me. 0.037. Vita is saying 1 millimeter, which is 0.04 or 40 thousandths of an inch. But because the difference is, it's actually 0.0394 to be exact. Because the difference is so slight, and because gapping these plugs is so imprecise using the tools I have available, we're going to leave them as they are. I don't want to risk damaging anything, over gapping them, having to try to then bend them back. They're all consistent and they're all very close to what Vita is saying, so we're going to leave them alone. We're not going to mess with them and possibly introduce more variables. So we're just going to install them as they are. What's really more important here than these plugs being exactly 40 thousandths is that we don't allow them to get to a state like this where they're 50 thousandths. That's where your problem is going to occur. Obviously, this is something that could leave you stranded, can be an expensive fix. This is not the same type of situation. Ready to do the oil change, just finished up the inspection. Seen this car before, but I noticed a few things. We still do have a little bit of oil leaking down here, and that is coming from, it's gonna be pretty hard to see. It'll be easier when I let the car down. It's coming from what would be the front cam seal, and this car just has a little plug because there are no camshaft pulleys. Other than that, everything looks good. You can see on this driver's side tire though, we have feathering. This tire is really worn down on the inner edge. Also on the outer edge, but less so. We do have some small cracks forming. That's just from age, heat, UV damage, just sitting in the sun pretty much, as far as I know. That's what causes that. That's why I believe, see it more on the outside than the inside, because obviously we don't have direct sunlight on the inside. Same deal on the passenger side, more wear on the inner edge, no small cracks, but as we get closer to the outside of the tire, we see some more of those small cracks, as well as in the tread. Nothing that's really urgent and needs to be replaced right away, something to document. And probably what I would recommend is an alignment and a tire rotation, and see if we can address the concern that way. I looked at the control arm bushings, they look good. I put my pry bar in and pried them back and forth and side to side. They spring right back. You can see that rubber doesn't look amazing, but it's intact. It's not torn. I don't think it would be a good use of the customer's money to replace the control arms right now. If the wear gets worse or continues after an alignment, that would probably be the primary culprit. But right now, we don't need to replace parts unnecessarily. And if we look at these rear tires, they're a little more worn, I believe because I rotated them from the front during the last visit. And we do have maybe a telltale sign of that similar wear because they came from the front, more wear on the outer edges. That can also just be from driving the car pretty hard through the corners, in this case. But on that front tire, where it's almost bald on the inside edge, probably not. I believe that's more of an alignment issue, so we'll talk to the customer about that. Okay, we're also changing the oil on this car, and I've seen this come up in forums and Facebook groups, how to get this oil filter out. Some people say take the headlight out. You can do that. It's pretty easy, just the 2 clips, 1 electrical connector, no big deal. Let me show you how I do it. Now, it's not the same on all the models. On some of the models, I think it's on the 3.2s, maybe the earlier ones in particular, there's a little less room. But for the later ones and for the T6s in particular, I just pop the power steering reservoir. Sometimes there's a little clip, sometimes there's not. I push it down under the manifold and past this upper radiator hose, and it's just kind of wedged in there. And now I have access to the filter, and I get my flex head socket tool in there. It doesn't need to be fancy, just a flex head with whatever that is, a 30 millimeter, I believe. You can double check. There's the part number, AST. And once you crack that loose, what I do is once it's loose, I kind of flip it over down here, and I'm usually able to wiggle it out. If I can't, I'll just go ahead and pull that element out of the filter. And what I do with a rag, or you could probably use a paper towel, if you pinch that O-ring, and you pinch it like this, my fingers are just here moving together, you'll be able to actually lift it out of the groove, and you can pull it off that the canister, the filter holder. After that, take that paper element out, or vice versa. Get the new O-ring in with a little bit of oil. Again, I just use my hands and get it over that filter housing, and then get the paper element in, flip it back over, use your flex head tool to get it back in, and then you simply move the reservoir back into its home position. Hope that's helpful. We're gonna let Jason know that his oil filter cap is broken, one of the tabs there. So that's not gonna hold proper tension when it's installed. Oh, can't even get it in now. There we go. It's gonna lift up on one side more. That could cause a vacuum leak. We should replace that as well. We will also mention this upper torque rod bushing is pretty well degraded and cracked. It looks like actually the mount is okay below it. I can see the gap between the mount and this bracket doesn't indicate the mount is collapsed. Those mounts collapsing are often what cause too much fore and aft movement, which causes this bushing to wear out prematurely. The real reason I wanted to get up here was to show you guys. There is that, I'm gonna call it a front cam seal, even though that's not really what it is. It's a cap where the cam pulley would be normally. I believe the reason there's a cap there is so that you can access the front of the camshaft so you can turn it over when you're doing the timing chain on the other side of the engine. And that cap is just seeping. Now I can't see the front one, I can only see the rear one, but we would just assume they're both leaking and plan to replace them both. That's just a very small oil leak, nothing major, and it's not going to leak a significant amount of oil over time. It's just one of those things, if you want to maintain the vehicle and make sure it's free of leaks, it's nice to take care of stuff like that. I'll let Jason know and he can decide what he wants to do. So let's just review what we did today. This car came in with a no start. The owner said that there was some smoke under his hood while he was driving. The car started to run rough. He got it home and then it wouldn't start. I was not involved in person with that part of the repair, but I guided him over the phone. He performed an inspection. He found one of the coils was all blown apart and leaking and looked crazy and was obviously an issue. He replaced that coil with a known good new coil, and he checked the fuses. He found the fuse that feeds the ignition coils was blown. That confirms our theory that the ignition coil was pulling too much current, but the piece that was missing was why. So then he drove it to me. We removed the coils, we removed the plugs, we measured the plugs and we verified the plug was way out of specification. It was a little over 50 thousandths of an inch when the spec is closer to 40 thousandths. And that just confirmed the reason why that coil had died was that it was trying to push current through a spark plug with an excessive gap. That overworking of the coil caused it to overheat, and in this case caused it to melt and begin smoking. So it's really important, if you're an owner of these P3 Volvos with the 3 or the 3.2 liter short 6 engines, stay on top of do not neglect your spark plug maintenance, and that is a 70,000 mile interval per Volvo's service interval. So if you buy one of these cars or you own one already and there's any question, have my spark plugs been replaced at the correct interval? My recommendation, if it's in question and there's any doubt, replace all your plugs. And depending on the age of the vehicle, obviously whether it's at the 70, 140, or 210,000 mile interval, you may want to consider replacing all your coils as well. And obviously you'll use your judgment there. If the car is higher mileage, and we can now see what happens when you neglect the spark plug maintenance and they're not replaced, what it can do to the coils, you may want to save yourself some hassle. Replace all your coils in conjunction with the spark plugs, and now you know you have a clean baseline, and you know from now on, as long as I keep up on my spark plug service interval, it's unlikely I'll ever have a problem with my ignition coils. Obviously, it is a costly repair you'd like to avoid. My XC70 has over 200,000 miles. It still had the original coils when I got it, and I had no issues with misfires. I replaced them all because we were getting close to that 210,000 mile service, but my point is that they can last over 200,000 miles, but not if you neglect spark plugs. Hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions, please leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this type of Volvo content, please share it and subscribe. Have a great day.